Hello, Year Sevens. Here's my little piece on the Great Wall of China. Gave you guys something to research. Well, I did one myself on the Great Wall. This is just a starting slide with some photos on it, mainly just to highlight the amazingness of it. A bit like the pyramids in Egypt, I can't help but look at it, and I'm hoping you're the same, and just going, wow, how was this ever done? With the tools they had, and the time it must have taken, you can't help but just say, wow. Let's move on, shall we? Took this from your textbook. I couldn't find it on the internet despite my searching, and the only reason I included this was I just wanted to highlight to you how the wall would have been constructed. As you can see, wooden scaffolding helps support everything, helps the workers to be where they need to be, and then bricks, etc., would be pulled up and put into place. Then the scaffolding would come down. Still quite amazing, and the amount of people involved just to make it work, totally amazing. Now let's have a look at a little bit about it. I'm going to dispel a few theories that other people have said over the time. A lot of people think that it was built all at once. Now, it wasn't actually. It was built over many centuries, but there's a lot of stop and start about it. It started off during the Zhou dynasty, well into the BCE, before the Common Era, about 220, and mainly it was compacted dirt, and there were just sections of wall, maybe 10, maybe up to 50 metres long, that were used probably to protection behind as you were fighting a battle, maybe to hide behind. It wasn't actually a wall as such then. Different dynasties, different emperors over the time started to join those together, and gradually they discovered that limestone and clay could be taken out of mines, and they made that was stronger than the dirt, so bricks were starting to be used, and eventually it all started to become a wall as more and more bits were added. Finally, during the Ming dynasty, so look at 1368 in the Common Era, way back then, it actually was finished. And the last thing done to it was that these big forts with the gun turrets and the places here for cannons and soldiers up there, and storage underneath, these were added last of all, and it all joined together to make one long wall. It wasn't as if the Chinese at the time said, we need to build a wall, let's build this giant wall from start to finish. It actually happened over, obviously, centuries and centuries and centuries, but there was a lot of time when nothing was done to it, and then other emperors would decide, we need to do this, till eventually it became what we know today. Now, it was originally built mainly for protection. If you can follow this line here, this is it all around the north of China and protecting them. Now, it was mainly built to protect them from this area here called Mongolia. The Mongols were amazing warriors. They were skilled horsemen and skilled archers, and they were terrifying warriors. And they would consistently invade China. So the original parts of the wall were built to try and protect from the Mongols. Now, down here at the bottom, the reason there's no wall here is that either this part of China is on an ocean, or the land is so mountainous or so dense in terrain that no one could get through, or enemies weren't here. Their enemies were mainly to the north. So that's why it's mainly in that part of China, mainly along the northern coast, not totally around the country. Here's some information about it, and a lot of things here that people have thought about the Great Wall are wrong. For example, it originally was built for protection, but it was more than that over the centuries as well. It also became like a customs area. So people wanted to enter China, they had to go through somewhere on the wall. So therefore, people coming and going from China could be regulated a lot more, just like we have now. People come to another country, they have to go through customs. Well, that happened for centuries as well, and so it became their customs post. It's also a great road for silk traders. Silk traders used to travel along through China, and the easiest way was to travel along the road that was on the wall a lot of the time. So it also became a means of transportation as well for silk traders. So it was more than just protection. Now, it wasn't just for bricks and mortar stopping invaders as well. something a lot of people think is the wall is one great long wall. It actually has gaps in it. There are parts of China that are so mountainous, or the water, the rivers, etc., are so dangerous that no one could get through. So they didn't need to protect those areas. If there's a giant mountain range that's just impossible to cross on foot, then you didn't need to have a wall there because simply no invaders could get through there. And the same with really dense forests or areas of rapidly flowing rivers such as that. So it isn't actually all continuous in one wall. Mostly is, but there are gaps in it for those reasons that I said. Its total length is over 21,000 kilometres, and again, that's just the wall. It would be longer than that from start to finish. If we could go back to that map and show you from the very beginning of it to the end, it would be more than 21,000 kilometres. It has some gaps in it, but the actual brick wall section itself is over 21,000 kilometres. Now, this is a very common picture of the Great Wall. We see how beautiful it is. Now, it's been renovated and kept up to that condition by the Chinese government over many, many hundreds of years. It doesn't all look like that. These are parts that have been protected, and I'd imagine would have hundreds of thousands, or sorry, millions of at least of tourists per year coming along. Not the whole 21,000 looks like that. Unfortunately, much of it is like this. It's been allowed to get into decay. It's not needed as protection anymore. In these days of cameras and aeroplanes and satellites, Chinese government doesn't need, and radar, I guess, the Chinese government doesn't need a wall to protect them anymore. It's become just a tourist attraction, really. And so whilst much of it is looking like this and an absolute magnificent place to visit, hope to get there someday myself, much of it looks more like this, being allowed to fall into disrepair. All right, can you actually see the Great Wall of China from the moon? It's said that you can. Many mathematicians and engineers and scientists over the years have done a lot of mathematics and work around it to say that the sheer size of it and the distance the moon is away, it should be visible. However, no astronaut that has been to the moon has ever come back and said that they were able to see it. Now, that doesn't really help us. I would guess, therefore, that you probably can't. But at the moment, there's no definitive answer. Astronauts that went, they weren't really checking to see if they could see the moon. They were really more concerned about getting there safely and gathering some rocks and other things and minerals and then bringing them back to Earth for examination. So, look, that's about it. The last thing I need, though, if you're watching this on a PowerPoint, then you can merely click on this for me, and this will take you to a small 3 or 4 minute YouTube video that sort of says a little bit more than what I've said as well, and covers a lot of the little things that I said in more detail. If you're watching this as a YouTube movie, then if you could pause it just for a minute and just get that and copy that, or type it into the browser and watch that little video as well, then that would be fantastic. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.